Anna Marie, Irony, LA. I'm going to tell you something. When I saw your post on assured income for the severely handicapped, I felt appalled that somebody would ask such a question as to why somebody would panhandle outside Tim Hortons. Maybe that person could have been somebody's brother. Maybe that person had mental health issues. Maybe that person was just like me, trying to get out of an abusive marriage. Only recourse was homelessness. Yeah, that's right, I said it. There was a time, a long time ago, I was on age. I got married. I fell in love. About a year into my marriage, it went to shit in a handbasket. And I had to leave my husband within 3 years of marriage, only to find myself 6 months homeless, couch hopping. I was one of the lucky few that had a good support system, or at least a half-assed one, or at least knew how to find a dry place to sleep while waiting for a divorce. That person you saw could have been me, could have been anyone. They could have been a person fresh out of the mental institutions for which probably had no home. Maybe the money that they have isn't enough for them to be able to support themselves. So the only way to get food is to panhandle. Difference between having money and eating and starving. Maybe that person can't work because of the fact that they have mental health issues. I am a caregiver by trade. I've seen this all too many times. I had to go through it myself. Only for me, it wasn't panhandling. There was a time that I was on age and I had to subject myself to things that I didn't want to do, but I had no choice because I didn't make enough to put food on my table. I barely had enough to pay my rent. To be honest, I find it atrocious why somebody like you, who may be on age or other supports, to be asking that question. Lucky you, you have a roof over your head and workers possibly to help you and parents to help you. But the older you get, the less support you have. And all your natural supports, the older you get, they die. I know that if I was on age right now, there is no way in hell I'd have the proper amount of supports that I would need. So I could be very well like that person, panhandling or becoming an escort, which I have done. When I was on age, I was an escort. Now I'm too old to do that now because, well, age takes its toll on people, so to say. But there was a time that I did have the looks, the charm. I was pretty. But I'm also lucky now that I have not only my best friend that I'm married to and a good husband, but back then I couldn't support myself really without some kind of intervention, some kind of help, because I couldn't bank my way out of a maze. Some of these people that are on the streets, it's not just addiction that makes people homeless. It can be something as much as, say, a bad relationship, because that happened to me. When I left my second marriage, I wasn't on age because my husband made too much. I got kicked off. I lost everything. I had no home. All I had was the car and maybe a very minimal part-time job and living off of $300 a month and Chef Boyardee for breakfast, dinner, and lunch. What can I tell you? It could be a matter of many reasons and myriad of explanations as to why somebody would go so far as asking panhandling for money or whoring their ass just to put food on their table. Or put the roof over their head. Because 47 years of having a disability that wasn't diagnosed until I was 39. I have autism and ADHD. I can tell you this, in 47 years, there's a lot I've learned. And you, my dear, have a lot to growing to understand life and what it is. I don't know your story and why you would ask such a question. Or why you would even go there. Because what I find grossly insulting is somebody that would ask that very question, why would somebody be handling outside Tim Hortons, and that it makes people with disabilities look bad. Well, maybe you're one of the privileged ones that live at home with mommy and daddy. There are many like me out there that are on age, that the only way they can afford food or the rent or the medications that they take is to panhandle or whore their ass. You should never, ever judge somebody. You should never, ever say things like that because it's horrible, it's mean, it's juvenile. Meaning, what I mean by juvenile is meaning that is not a question that is appropriate, nor should it be ever asked. Because one day, karma is a bitch, you know that. And karma has a way of paying back those in time. For not keeping an open mind, for not helping others, for picking on those less fortunate, such as your question does. I don't wish homelessness on anyone. But you, my dear, that's one hell of a atrocious question to be asking. Because that question could be you. It could be anyone in this group. That could be a long lost uncle or friend of somebody. He could be somebody's brother. Homelessness can happen to anyone. It happened to me just after my divorce. People think that being homeless is a choice. Well, maybe for some it is. For others, it's a fact of life. And once you're in it for a long time, it's hard to get out of it. You might forget how it is to live in society. So you develop bad habits. You might come into what seems to be good people, but they're not. That's how a lot of people get hooked on drugs, is falling into the wrong crowds. People that you think might be helping you, but in turn, inevitably, might be harming you. And this happens to a lot of disabled people. Maybe that person just came out of abuse. They have no money, no job. What else do they do in order to eat or get shelter? Never mind that, afford shelter. Not all of us are so privileged to have a roof over our heads or food in our fridge or a family to help. Instead of asking questions of why would that person be panhandling outside of Tim Hortons and making disabled look bad, maybe you should be asking yourself, could this be me one day? And don't take for granted that roof over your head or that family's going to be there forever. Because fact is, family dies, friends die, friends leave. They're not going to be there forever. And maybe that person has no friend. Maybe that person has no family. And that's why they're there. Maybe that person doesn't know how to get the help necessary. Maybe that person is dependent on drugs, for which put them in that situation. Sure, at first, drugs is a choice. But after taking drugs for a long time, like anything, like any addiction, and it becomes habitual, kind of like smoking, it becomes more than just a habit. It becomes a fact of life. As you need food to eat, that person needs that drug to live. Sometimes people are runaways from home environments that are abusive. 90% of the kids that are on the street, that's their history. How dare you judge these people? Because a lot of the people that are homeless, a good lot of them are mental health issues. A good lot of them are disabled just like us. Others ran away from bad environments. Unfortunately, they were too young at the time to be able to get a job or survive. So that the streets became their home. No one should judge another person just because you have a better life than someone else. Doesn't mean that you won't end up there one day. That could be any one of us. And that's something that maybe you should think about, my dear. Because homelessness is not a choice for many. Take it from an old 47-year-old who's been through a lot.